Good evening. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last Saturday live stream of 2024. Only took me 5 years to get to YouTube, but I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm here. And I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to all of the friends that I've met along the way in the last few months. There's too many of you to name. Some of you are in the chat, some of you are lurking, some of you are on screen with me, producing me in the background, saving me from myself, and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm really grateful to all of you for showing up and hanging out with me and muddling through all my technical difficulties and my scatterbrainedness. So as I have been complaining about for several weeks now, I am in a state of like chronic headache. So I was supposed to bring you tonight more technical detail on cell phone stuff. And honestly, I couldn't do it. So what I've done is I've invited my friend Chris, also known as the Squeegee of Justice, to join me and Jenny to talk about how cell phones played a part in the cases that we watched this year. So I think it's still going to be a good, informative, and interesting discussion. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say and think about that. And then we will resume with our dive into learning about Cellbrite and digital data and all the things that are playing such a huge role. I'm still going to give you guys the behind the scenes investigative look at everything. It's just not going to be tonight. And I appreciate your understanding. And yes, I am working with my neurologist to get to the bottom of this and to get rid of it. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I appreciate you so much. And so I want to bring Jenny up real quick, and because she sent me a photo of something I thought was kind of funny yesterday. Erin, can you bring Jenny up? There we go. Hi,
Hello.
Jenny. Good evening. So welcome,
You?
my friend, and thank you so much again for being here and for everything you have done to support me and this
Of course.
channel.
I'm just
Hi,
thanking
Amy.
you for letting me. Hey, Amy.
No, it's not about that at all. Listen, I wanted to start a channel so that I would have a place to discuss not only what I see and work on a daily basis, but also what I'm watching on YouTube and yelling back at the computer. And there's nobody to talk to. And Henry does not care. Henry doesn't care, not at all. So,
Henry's a cat, by the way, Michelle, because Michelle's
yeah,
here.
Henry is a cat who hopefully will not be making an appearance tonight. Um, so I just wanted to say thank you for all of your support and your hard work and your help on everything. I've appreciated it so much. But let's show our viewers. Show your book that you got for Christmas. Hold it
Can
up
you
real
see it?
close. So it's Stoker's Dracula, and
And
it's very gothic looking. It's got the gold edge page and black, and it's very nice, and it's got a satin ribbon bookmark, right?
yep. And
So
it's like it
Jenny,
starts with everything about him, and it's fuzzy for some reason. Here we go. Can
yeah.
see it?
So Jenny sent
There it
me
is.
a photo of that gorgeous book,
And
and
my stitch that Jake got me. Jake
yes,
got me stitched.
it's um. So she sent me a photo of that beautiful, beautiful book yesterday, and I cracked up because I had lunch with my dear friend Caitlin from law school, who got married in France this year and who went with me to the Taylor Swift concert in Paris. Jenny showed you her book. This is what Caitlin got me. So we've got Pink and Pretty versus the Gothic, um, and still very beautiful. And I just thought it was really funny, the dichotomy of the two. So I wanted to show you guys that real quick. Hi, Tanika, and welcome in. Welcome, you
Woman,
guys.
Mama and Amy.
I'm going to add in, I'm going to bring in my friend Chris now, also known as the Squeegee of Justice. I've been on his program a couple of times. He is one half of Trial TV Live, and I'm excited that he's here so that we can have a conversation
Yes.
about.
Guys, go watch their channel too. Go watch his channel. Amazing
channel,
streams.
Not only is the channel fantastic, the people behind it are fantastic. And I 100% could not be more literal when I say I wouldn't be sitting here doing this if it were not for them. So welcome, 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 Chris.
Thank you, thank you, Jenny. I have to say I thought it was very appropriate that your Dracula book was out of focus. I think that worked really well.
I got a computerizer and everything's in a different spot now. So
yeah, no, that worked really well. And then Nosferatu, you saw, didn't you?
I did.
Go see that the other day. How was that?
Saw it yesterday. Yeah. Jake and I really liked it a lot. Mike did not. Because he just doesn't. He's not into all that. They changed it a lot from the 1922 version. They changed a lot of details about it, but I still really liked it. Johnny Depp's daughter's in it. Lily Rose Depp. She's the main character.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And Sam, did your book come with a CD or a DVD?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I've got enough videos on my phone that I could probably recreate the 3.5-hour concert based on footage that either I took or I stole off of Instagram. The only time I've ever used Instagram was to watch Taylor Swift stuff. And it's weird. I haven't been a Swiftie. I wasn't a Swiftie. I knew about 3 songs, and then footage of the Eras tour came out, and I was like, I want to go to where it is happy and glittery and sparkly and people are singing and it's not scary. And I just so desperately wanted to be a part of what I felt like was a big cultural moment. And I got to do that. And I got to do it in France.
But then you wouldn't like my Mushroom Head. You wouldn't like my Mushroom Head concerts then because they wear scary masks and stuff. So.
Oh, no.
A really good friend of mine, Ivan, his brother used to play in Mushroom Head. He was a guitarist.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
Cool. I love Mushroom Head.
Yeah. I don't know when he was. He's not anymore. He's not with them anymore.
I like the old lineup. I don't like the new lineup as much.
You might, maybe he was in it. Maybe he was in it then. I'm not sure. I'll have to see when he was in it. But yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Such a small world sometimes.
It is. It is.
I see a lot of you in the chat. Welcome to Nika's 2 Cents. She runs, I found out, 3 freaking YouTube channels, which I can barely manage myself, this tiny channel and the cat. But Tanika's got a really fun true crime channel, and I binged a lot of her Sarah Boone content the other day, and I was just cracking up. And I see legal-minded friends, Karen Cole from across the pond, Route Irish. I'm so glad you found us. Therapist, hello, Kristen. Amy Crew, glad to see you. Barry, we're still going to have a good discussion. It's just not going to be. It's just not going to be more. See, this is why. This is why we're going to have a conversation. And Julie, it's cool if you lurk. I do not care. Happy to see everyone. You guys, my last video last week got 450 views, which is just absolutely crazy.
That's awesome.
See, I told you. It's crazy to me because I've done no editing. I do some planning. I bring some documents. I bring my messy self, and here we are. And it's been so much fun. And I've enjoyed it so much. And I hope that you guys will stick with me as we turn into a new year full of trials. I've got a ton of trials coming up in my life personally, some of which may be streamed. And if they are, I will let you know. And then Chris, I'm sure, has a very full docket. What trial are you most looking forward to that's docketed right now, Chris?
Well, we talked about this, and I was excited, but then you popped the bubble. But maybe I can get excited again. Billy Wagner. He
Oh yeah,
starts. He
Oh,
starts
you
the
know
yeah.
what?
6th. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he starts the 6th, but then you guys were saying the other trials, they would the stream would literally just black out the video and the audio, so you just saw
Yeah,
nothing
we'll
for
see.
however long the
Yeah.
testimony was. So if that happens, I'm going to bounce. I'm not going to cover it anymore.
Hey Sam,
Um,
did I tell you I have the? Did I tell you I have the transcripts of Jake's
Yeah,
no,
testimony?
do
you did.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah. I've got
I
the
w-
whole transcripts. I have to upload them to the thing, and then I've got.
can you put them
I can
in?
get Angela's too,
Can
but I'll
you
put
put
it
them
in the drive.
in drive? Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
awesome.
It's
That case
interesting.
just fascinates me. Both
Yeah, I
Chris
got
and
a lot
I
of files.
are both Chris and I are originally from Ohio, although different parts. And that is an Ohio-based case, and one of the most
Yeah, heinous.
I don't even have words for that case. But anyway, tonight we're still going to talk about Tanika thinks being a PI is girl. I wish. Listen, I am. I think as I wrote to you the other day, I'm more of an analyst now than an investigator, and there will be conversations in the future to come about that. But a lot of my cases, which two resolved, so that's awesome. So I think I'm at 18 right now with one federal, three death penalty. Most cases do get settled before they go to trial. I do have some high profile cases. I am in Tampa, Florida, in Hillsborough County. We never have a shortage of crime here in Tampa or anywhere in Florida for that matter. And I will be bringing on my good friend and mentor, Billy Lane, at some point. I need to catch back up with him. He's got a great nonprofit that I want you guys to hear about. And I haven't decided yet if I'll have you submit Sarah Boone questions ahead of time rather than
That's probably a good idea.
bombarding him in the
Yeah.
chat. I don't know how he would feel about that. So that's a conversation that we need to have. So I am covered by attorney-client privilege. That's correct. So the stuff that I've been showing you guys is like, for example, we looked at the pre-sentencing report. I'm redacting. I'm taking old cases that have resolved, and I'm redacting information out of them to show you the documents I'm bringing to you. On current cases, I can tell you if I'm on one or not, but I'm not going to tell you anything beyond that, or beyond whatever is known to the public. So I cannot go further than that. I don't want to. I am trying to build a career as a PI, and I do work in criminal defense. All right, guys. So what case would we like to start off with tonight to talk about cellular? I'm going to call it digital data, you guys. And if there's somebody techie in the chat, or lurking, they're going to come and tell me I'm wrong. It's not all digital data. But for this channel, for tonight's stream, we're calling it digital data, and that could
Digital
include
data.
cell phone and car data and surveillance cameras and all the things. So Chris, why don't you start us off with which case made the biggest impact on you for what came out about this via cellular information?
Gotcha. Yeah. I would have to say Karen Read and the Cellbrite testimony on Jennifer McCabe's infamous now Google of House Long, because that has become, like, I feel like a SNL running skit. You know, everybody
Okay.
like. Go ahead.
So for those of us that may not have watched Karen Read, such as my family, who are probably here somewhere, why don't you give us a basic factual breakdown of the case and tell us who Jen McCabe? Oh my God, this is why we're not doing a formal presentation.
Yes.
Tell us who Jen McCabe is and how it fits into the puzzle, if you will.
Okay, so Karen Read is accused of running over her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, who was a Boston police officer. And this happened in 2022, right? So they were out drinking, and Jennifer McCabe was out drinking with a bunch of her friends. She's married to Chris Albert, and Chris Albert, I'm sorry, God, what's his name? What's her husband's name? Chris is the brother. Brian Albert. So Brian Albert and Chris Albert. So these people are well known in the town of Canton, right? So they were all out drinking with Brian Higgins, who is another officer. Brian is also a officer for Boston. So they were all out drinking, and they invited John O'Keefe, and they all know John O'Keefe, and Karen was going out with John at the time. So they invited them out for a drink, and then that bar closed, and they all went over for an after-hours drink at the Alberts, right? So Jen McCabe is, I'm not quite sure. Was she the sister? I think she's a sister of Brian Albert's wife. So those two, that's the connection there, right?
Yeah, she's Albert's sister-in-law.
Yeah. Okay. So Brian's wife is Jennifer McCabe's sister, right? So they all go over to their house for after hours drinking, and this is where it gets dicey because Karen Read says that she dropped John off and then left, whereas everybody in the house, there was like 10 people in the house, saying no, he never made it into the house. So where it gets sticky is that at 2:27, Jennifer McCabe allegedly types into her cell phone, house long, HOS, house long to die in cold. So, and it was, she meant to say how long. So I guess, yeah,
Mhm.
S and W are very close to each other. So what struck me, well, is that enough backstory, or should I give more? Do you think that's enough backstory?
No, I mean, whatever you need to give just
Yeah.
to sort of ground us for what we're going to talk about, which is,
Okay.
cell phone and or
Okay.
in the car.
Right.
I'm seeing some people in the chat bringing up, or I see Kristen
Mhm.
saying the FBI said something. But yeah, please
Yeah.
just go ahead. Hi,
Yeah.
OnlyFan. Nice to see you.
Yes. So well, I guess just to kind of wrap it up a little bit with the rest of before we get into the cell phone data aspect. So Karen goes home, and they had been drinking. So she's, I guess, well, she was good enough to drive. John, I don't think, was good enough to drive. She was okay to drive, and I don't think she had that much. They
No.
claim that she had like a 20-point blood alcohol
Yeah,
level, but
they said she had like 12 drinks, right? But should we add the fact that one, this was in Massachusetts, and two, it seemed like maybe a blizzard was coming?
there was definitely a blizzard
Yeah, the
coming.
blizzard,
Absolutely.
yep.
But there's no definitive proof that she actually had that many drinks. Matter of fact, I think based on surveillance or cameras from the bar, I think she may have had like 2 or 3. I mean, if that. She was buying drinks for other people, so her receipt said 5 drinks, but I think she herself only had a few, if that.
Well,
so
Amy Crew just summed it up as, did she run over her boyfriend or did his cop friends beat him to death?
yeah,
That's kind of the facts, but there's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Chris.
So she gets home, Karen gets home, and it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and she wakes up and John's not there. So she starts calling people, and one of the people she called was Jen, and Jen called another friend, and they went looking for John, and they went back to the Albert's house, and there's John in the snowdrift, or snow is piling up, and he is dead at that point in time. So
in a cop's yard. So you have a cop,
yep,
right, who is dead in another cop's yard.
Correct.
And this case has more than just Karen or John's cell phone.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Everybody's cell
phone.
We have a lot of phones. Do we have a lot of phones?
Yeah. We have a lot of phones. We have Jen's phone. We have Albert's phone. We have Higgins' phone. We've got at least those 3. God, how many? There's the
Proctor.
son. Proctor's phone. Oh God, yeah.
Who was the cop that was texting about Karen?
That was Proctor. Yep. Trooper Proctor. Yep. His phone. The son's phones.
The FBI agent who did his own download of his phone and selectively gave it over.
Let's see. No, Proctor went to the FBI and he downloaded. Or was that?
Is that Proctor?
I think that was Proctor that did that.
I can't keep them all straight. Y'all know.
I know. Yeah, he went to an FBI bureau, and yeah, I guess you can
downloaded his own damn phone.
download his own phone. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Higgins. Higgins was ATF. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. So yeah, so Higgins was ATF. So he went to a FBI bureau, and I guess that if you're in the know, you can go to one of their kiosks and you can like download and delete your data. So that's what he did.
Okay, I'm not aware that exists, but
yeah,
okay.
But we're getting off topic because I want to keep this because
sorry.
we could talk 10 hours about
rein us back in.
I know. All right, so let's get specific because you asked me at the top of this was like what shocked me or what did I learn from this? I learned that according to Cellbrite, when you Google something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the time that you Googled it. So when Jen is okay, so at 2:27, she's in her bed and she's Googling house long to die in cold. She says no, she did that at 5:30 or 6 o'clock when they found John. And it was Karen that was shaking her, screaming, Google, how long does it take to die? And because she was being shook while she's Googling, typing, that's why she put in HOS instead of HOW. So, but you and I were talking, or the four of us with Aaron were talking earlier that it's Cellbrite's software was updated. So when that testimony was
constantly updated.
Okay, so when that guy gave that, so what was his name? Ian, I wrote it down here. Let me see. What was his name?
I didn't follow it enough.
Yes, forensic expert Ian Whiffen said that the timestamp on the search was wrong before explaining to jurors that if a Safari window is minimized and then used again hours later, the old timestamp could be attached to the search. So that's
mind blowing.
That's what they're saying. So she was Googling something about her daughter's, what was she, field hockey or something, volleyball, something. She was Googling that, and somehow that other window popped up. But he says, in this case, he said McCabe had been looking at sports scores on her phone and then failed to close the Safari app, which is why her next search appeared to be done at 2:27 and not after 6. So because she had Googled something about her daughter's sports team, she left that window open in Safari. And then at 6 o'clock, when Karen Read's, saying, how long did I Google it? She used that same browser window. So that was their explanation. That was the prosecution's explanation as to why it showed at 2:27 versus 6 o'clock. I don't know. That seemed that seemed pretty stretchy in my opinion. But so okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my jaw hit the floor when I heard that, because how many times have we heard Google search is the damning
it's
whatever.
The end all be all. That's right. It. Yeah, that's it.
Now what I was saying is, when I was telling you guys this earlier, when we get discovery over from the prosecution, they send us it's called a package, right? And within that is the extraction of the phone. So that means I can open up Cellbrite Reader on my computer and plug in that extraction into that program, and then I can look at the entire contents of the phone unless they purposely omitted something. They also send us a PDF file, which is what I was showing you guys last week. I showed you a tiny one, and when I say tiny, it's because it was only 4,000 pages, whereas I've got a note over here on my other computer that one of my clients has a 38,000 page PDF report.
That's insane.
It is.
And then they also send us, how you have Adobe Acrobat Reader, they also send us a version of Cellbrite Reader. Now, I've got a case from 2018 that came with a version of Cellbrite Reader, but we're up to, I lost track of like what version we're on now. So it's really interesting to me. And as you were, Chris, as you were giving us some cases to review, I was looking in particular the dates of the cases, because I think that we're going to want to keep our eyes on, as true crime aficionados and me, going to want to keep our eyes on the dates data are collected. I think that's going to be interesting, especially with Cellbrite coming out and saying that at the Reed trial. Now, Chris, do you know Have they come out and said that anywhere else?
As far as what?
At the time that you can do a Google search and you think you're doing it
Oh,
at 7:40 p.m., but because you left your tab open from 3:30, that's the time. Have you heard that in any of the other trials you've reviewed?
I have not. I have
I
not.
haven't
When
either.
Yeah, when Cellbrite comes
Mhm.
in and they say what they say, they've never ever. No, that's the first time I heard it. That's why when I heard that, and I was kind of fresh. That was actually our second case that we started
Oh,
as Trial
wow.
TV
Okay.
Live. Yeah, we started with the Chad Daybell, and we caught like the last 3 or 4 days, and then we jumped over to Karen Read. So when that happened, I don't even think we were actually streaming yet. I think we were just watching as as uh, people watching. We weren't actually streaming that particular testimony. So I was paying attention, but I wasn't really paying attention. So when that hit, I'm like, with Aaron, I'm like, how is that even possible that data is data? I mean, a timestamp is a timestamp. Metadata is metadata. You can't
Right.
alter that. So now you're telling me that my search is not really what my search is? I mean, yeah, that was just mind blowing to me. And that was the biggest thing for the entire year, as far as I'm concerned, because I did not see any other trials that actually came in like that.
That is a bombshell piece of
Yeah.
information if it's true.
If it's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense since we haven't heard it anywhere else.
Yeah, I can't remember what then the defense came in with to counter that. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they had their own expert. I do not recall.
I need to go back and watch that, especially since the new trials, getting ready to start. If maybe.
Yeah, I am sure they definitely
Yeah.
brought in somebody to counter that, and maybe
Yeah.
it was the software had been updated. Maybe it was something with that. I don't recall what the defense came back in to counter with that. Yeah.
Thank you, OnlyFans. See what OnlyFans put up?
Yes.
Mhm.
OnlyFans says they flew in two kooks, Jessica Hyde and Ian Whiffen, gave them incomplete data and got them to testify to clear Jen McCabe. I personally think there were more shenanigans going on in Karen Read. My mind for that case, I guess what it comes down to is I can't really wrap my mind around any of the events of that case. I did hear recently, or I watched a hearing or listened to it. They are doing a chip off method on the Lexus out of her electronic, like the infotainment center. They found somebody, they're going to do the thing, and supposedly that's going to help. The new trial is supposedly going to be streamlined. I mean, we had people butt dialing with their iPhones.
Yeah.
I haven't had a butt dial in years. I mean,
My father-in-law
because-
does that to me a lot.
okay, but
Yeah, he does.
so you have an Android. Like
Mhm.
when I'm done with my phone,
He has an iPhone, but I have an Android. Yeah.
when I'm done, if I just squeeze that side button, it makes it dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's impossible to
that.
butt dial on an iPhone. And this case also brought up the Brian Albert, who is the husband of that was there. He's the ex-cop as well. He said that he and Higgins were butt dialing each other while Brian was having sex with his wife. Right? So he brought that in. That was his testimony. And then also Jen McCabe said that she butt dialed John O'Keefe like 10 times in the span of like 5 minutes. And again, anybody who has an iPhone, it is impossible, in my opinion, this day and age, and this was only in 2022, so it was only a couple years ago, to butt dial somebody.
He must have an Android. He must have an Android. I thought he had not, but yeah, I think he has an Android now I think about it.
I mean,
Yeah.
the actions that are required to, first of all, you have to, well, if you have a case, it's not going to happen, right? Then you have
Right.
to like physically do that. Then you have to physically, like I can't make a phone call right now, so I have to activate
Yeah,
it
mine's
that
a-
way.
Yeah.
Then I have to activate that icon.
that
then
an
I have to
Android?
activate this.
Is
No,
that
this
an
is a,
Android? That's an
no,
iPhone?
This is iPhone, yeah.
But see,
So
I
that-
have to do all that with my Android too. And then,
Yeah.
then I have it like a lock on there. Like for if it's like in your purse, it's not going to, if it's in your pocket or purse, it's not going to be able to call anything out. Like it's a lock screen. You can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, if you have a passcode, forget about it. So it's like
Right.
impossible. So when they were dropping butt dials left and right, but Jen McCabe and Brian Albert, I'm like, it's impossible. It's just impossible in this. 2 years ago, it was
Unless their phone
2022.
was laying open.
No,
some-
but
yeah.
even still, I mean, Jenny, look, okay, here's
if
an
they-
iPhone, right? I physically have to
Right.
do that, and then I physically have to do that, and then I physically have to do that, and then I physically have to make a call. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
how many actions is that? You know,
A lot.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4 actions.
Right.
It just no. That
I don't
when
think your butt's not going to choose. I'm going to butt dial this person, and my other cheek's going to butt dial that person.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So Higgins and Brian Albert are butt dialing each other at around 2:30 or something like that. Meanwhile, Brian Albert's supposedly having sex with his wife, and we're like, how? What are the physics involved? This case had a lot of like weird physics going
It
on,
had a
and that
lot
was one of them.
of stretching. It was incredulity is the word that comes to mind for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Good
And
word.
I'm watching the chat, and I know, hi, Queen Olive Ruth Ann. I know that none of us like this case, right? It made us feel icky, but I
Mhm.
think it's an important case for a number of reasons. And one is something I've talked about briefly on here. Is what I see as prosecutorial misconduct, and I believe there's a lot of that going on. And I also
Mhm.
believe there's a lot of that going on in law enforcement as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I live in Florida, so I know I'm seeing it here in various counties. I know because I'm constantly getting documents from prosecution from law enforcement. But to see it happening also in Massachusetts, I mean, the fact that this man was a Boston police officer, and that
Mhm.
fact was just they the homeowner didn't come outside. So
Mhm.
beyond just, I mean, we had phones that were butt dialing. We had the Lexus, which may or may not have recorded some stuff. We had some surveillance cameras. We had that search situation that you just talked about, Chris. Then
Mhm.
we had one law enforcement officer texting Karen Read. Then we had another law enforcement officer who was texting inappropriate things about Karen Read. And I'll tell you something, I have yet to see a law enforcement officer's cell phone contents. I've never seen their, I've never, not in any of the cases I've worked. So that was shocking to me, was that they were bringing in, like, how did they even know to go download these cops' phones? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, I have not yet come across a case in my world, which is usually first and second degree felony, the most major of them all. I'm not seeing, like, how does that
Mhm.
Right.
happen?
Right.
How does law enforcement's phones get brought into an investigation and a trial? You know,
Mhm.
that's just crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm with you on Karen Read. I think a lot of things were exposed there,
Mhm.
and they might not hit you at first, like at first glance, but if you start to really think about it,
Mhm.
there's a lot there. That
Yeah.
case is very telling, and it'll be very interesting to see the new trial.
I
Uh,
agree.
Kristen says that Bev ruled Proctor's phone contents is amazing to me. Wonder what wasn't allowed in. I mean, my God,
Mhm.
With
Yeah.
Bev, it's hard to tell.
Uh, but
Yeah.
Bev is the judge, by the way, who I'm not a fan of. Queen
Yeah.
Olive
Mhm.
says the FBI downloaded the phones for their investigation. I don't remember why they thought to do that. Okay, well, Ruth Ann, I have I've showed you guys that what happens with my stuff is the cellular data goes to the freaking FBI. They make the cast report, which I've shown you. It was kind of partially cut off. I'll redo it again. I showed you the cast report. I told you that in the last murder trial I had, which was two um two on trial for the murder of one person. It was like a 4-day trial, and they flew the FBI in to testify. So I've also worked on federal cases. I don't understand exactly what you're saying. Where did they get the idea that law enforcement phones needed to be downloaded and brought in as a part of the case? Can somebody explain that to me? I don't know.
Why did the
Whenever the
FBI want to
judge
look?
floats her boat.
Well,
But
the
that would have been done before the judge. That would have been done
Yeah,
before a
that's true.
judge's involvement, I think, unless they, well, no, I take that back, because there has to be a warrant, right? You have to
Yeah.
have an
Mhm.
application for a warrant. and then the judge has to review and sign off it and agree to it. So in that, you are correct. I'm sorry, Chris, I cut you off, which I'm horrible about doing. And
No,
I
no,
am
it's
too.
okay. It's
blanket
okay.
apology.
Yeah, no worries.
Same.
So the Canton police never did their due diligence, and they never interviewed everybody that was involved, everybody that was at that party. They never once looked at their cell phones. They never once got search warrants for those cell phones. It
Sketchy.
was the FBI that got all those search warrants and all of that. So absolutely very sketchy. The only and they didn't even get a search warrant for Karen's phone. They just went over because she went to her dad's house.
Did she sign off on it and give it over to them?
No. She when they were interviewing her at her dad's house, they said, "Can we look at your phone?" And I think she willingly gave it to them. But there was never. I don't think there was ever a search warrant that. And correct me if I'm wrong. I was watching a trial the other day. I can't remember which one. It was pretty recent. You need a search warrant to get the phone, and then you need a search warrant to actually extract it. Is that correct? Okay.
We're going to talk
see.
about warrants, and
Mhm.
I'm going to bring warrants to the screen for you, like the
Okay.
probable cause affidavits, which are basically applications for warrants.
Mhm.
I've talked about on here before how I have a real problem right now with warrants for people's personal data and how broad it is, because I learned in law school that warrants are supposed to be specific and particular. And I don't think the warrants that we're seeing right now are. And I think it's up to defense attorneys to start getting really proactive in challenging these warrants. And I've talked about my friend and colleague who is a young attorney, and this is a conversation we have frequently, along with the fact that we're tired of 14-year-olds shooting 14-year-olds. So he will come on at some point. We will further discuss the warrant situation and how liberal the judges are allowing law enforcement to be in the searching of data. But if you think you're clever, you're not. And I think we see that over and over and over again in these cases. Either people they think they've turned it off, but their Bluetooth is still connecting or their Wi-Fi is still connecting, which happens if you're in airplane mode. They leave it at home. They have somebody else in the Wagner trial, right? Wasn't Angela at home using everybody's phones and sending out text messages? So it looked like they were not out murdering the rest of
Yeah, that's what Chandler Halderson did as well. After he offed his dad, he was texting his mom from his dad's phone. Just devious, I don't know, thought process, I guess,
Somebody asked me a question. Trial Junkies United. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to see you. Didn't the FBI send the defense to the group that did the car reconstruction? Honestly, sir, I do not, or ma'am, I do not know. Karen Read was a trial that I had on and was listening to. I paid more attention to it than I do some of the cases. But I remember distinctly I was doing work at the same time. So I don't know. I caught a hearing the other day, and that's how I know that they're going to go back. They found now they're calling it chip off, which is a way of retrieving data, and they're going to do that off the Lexus. So
that statement is correct. Yeah, they didn't. The Jackson Yannetti did not have the car reconstruction data. Was it? Who were those guys? God, what are the I want to say AARP, but it wasn't them. They basically do reconstructions for like the government agencies and stuff. I'm sure somebody in chat can ARRCA or something like that. Yep.
ARCA.
Yeah, ARCA. Yeah, ARCA. That's what it was. ARCA. Yep. ARCA. Yep. Something like that. Yeah. And they're the one guy's testimony everybody loved because he's like, basically, the Canon daddies. Yep. He's like, so basically you make cannons. He's like, yeah. Literally like that.
Boom, 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 boom.
Testifying. Yeah. Yep. The Canon daddies. So anyway, yeah. So, the FBI did their own, I guess, reconstruction or whatever, their own investigation. And then they sent that to Jackson and Yannetti. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had that to dispute it.
Well, it certainly will be interesting to see the retrial and especially compare it to the absolute shit show that was the first one. I mean,
Yeah.
that goes to, I mean, were we talking about this on your show, Chris, about the red Solo cups and the leaf blower, the snow
The leaf
blower for
blower is what
collecting the evidence?
I watched
Yeah.
that
I
part. Yeah, that just
mean,
blows my mind. I mean,
all
that
of
is
it.
so fouled up. So
Yeah.
fouled up.
Now, Jenny, was there a case? I know we're kind of working off a list here, but was there a
Yeah.
case this year where cell phone information in particular kind of had a really big wow moment for you?
Out of the ones we're talking about that we have,
It doesn't have to be. I don't think, does it?
No, it doesn't have to be.
well,
Yeah. What jumped out at you?
it's the ones I was kind of looking at today. I am like not with it today, guys. I'm so sorry. If you can tell, I'm just not. It feels like I'm not even in the same room.
It's okay.
Plenty's coming up, so we're not going to talk about that. There's a lot on that one. Same with the co-burger. There's a lot on that one.
Yeah, for the purposes
That's something
of
coming
this,
up, so we're not going to talk about any of
Yeah.
that.
not yet. Yeah.
Not yet. So, guys, that's coming.
Mhm.
I mean, well, the McKinley Lusoma, how you
Mhm.
pronounce it?
Uh,
That whole thing.
Close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, Lusoma.
Chris, you wanna-
Lusma. Pronounce it for me.
I say Louisma, but
Louisma, that's it.
Louisma,
Louisma.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that one there is just that number one, that was awful. That was so
Yeah.
bad. That was so sad. But the whole Snapchat conversation with her mom that she was having, and her mom, said that first she thought it was her daughter, but then later when she went back and looked at it, she said it didn't sound like her wording. But
So let me stop you for a second, Jenny. Chris, can you give us a real quick facts rundown on this case?
yes, please do.
Sure. Okay. So
Thank you.
I'm just going to read the description we have, but then I can riff
Absolutely.
off of that.
That's
Yeah, it's probably better than what I have
absolutely
written down. Yeah.
All right. So McKinley Louisma was 23 years old, and he faced charges of murder and kidnapping for the alleged offing of Melody Hoffman in February 17th, 2024. So it happened in February, and it went to trial. I think in October.
Yep.
I think it was right around Sarah Boone. So it was a quick trial. Louisma and Hoffman were in a romantic relationship. And then there was there was three people that were involved: Dakota Van Patten, and Louisma, and then there was another guy. What was his name? All right, let me just keep reading.
I didn't write that down.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they allegedly collaborated to fatally assault Hoffman. The victim was reportedly placed in a car trunk and later disposed of in a nearby lake. Court documents say Louisma and Hoffman had been in a relationship at the time, but that Louisma was also seeing another woman. Hoffman's body was found at Amina Lily Lake in Iowa County on February 18th. Excuse me, but investigators believe she was off the night before. Investigators believe Louisma and another man, Dakota Van Patten, kidnapped Hoffman and offed her at Morgan Creek Park in Cedar Rapids. Excuse me. Evidence collected from his car included Hoffman's clothing, a phone case, and a bloody watch band. So we were talking earlier about there was some cell phone data that we'll talk about.
The cell phone data coming out of this case is really, really eye-opening, but please continue.
Yeah, sure. There's a Walmart involved. There's surveillance of these guys buying
Walmart.
2 machetes and gloves before they picked up Hoffman. So they were in a Walmart.
Machetes.
Machetes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they
Found him under the bed.
Yeah, they tortured her.
But nothing had her DNA on. Like stuff underneath the bed didn't have her DNA on it. But
it was
that was
terrible.
interesting.
Wow.
So
The
yeah,
rope.
so they put her in a trunk of a car and then they drove her. They dumped her 16 miles away. They believe they tied up some rope, or they tied her up with rope. Here, a third man, Logan Kimpton, was accused of helping purchase the knives and gloves, but he apparently chickened out. He backed out, so he did not. He was not involved with that. So that's kind of the backdrop, where she was younger, and I think they say she might have been pregnant at the time as well. She was, I think, 18 or 19, but she was mental capacity of like a 13-year-old. So these guys definitely took advantage of her.
Yeah.
Just totally.
That's
butchered
just
her.
awful, isn't it? That's
horrible.
just awful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
so I did not watch. I don't think I watched this trial, guys.
I didn't either.
think
I just saw
I
some
don't think I
basics. But
did.
yeah.
But when I was reading about it, because it came up on Chris's list, let's talk about what it wasn't just cell phone data, right? It was her Fitbit as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I did some searching and I downloaded some stuff. So this one guy,
Perfect.
detective, testified about the forensic download of Melody Hoffman's iPhone. He said that despite the phone being damaged and running a beta version of Apple's operating system, they were still able to extract some information. So let's see, the phone showed it had been connected to OnePlus Nord's 5G network. The last manual connection was at 101. The last auto connection appeared at 252. So that's getting into some weeds there. We don't have to go down that path.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there later.
Network stuff.
Later.
Yeah.
We're not anywhere near being done with digital data, cell phone stuff. There's going to be more to come. I'm breaking it up because there's a lot.
So here's the thing with, so Hoffman's Apple Health app explained the app captured a dramatic spike in Melody's heart rate midnight, and then followed by an abrupt cessation of data collection. You could see an extreme change from her trending resting heart rate to a very high moment, and then the heart rate dropped entirely. The app also recorded a decibel event indicating an exceptionally loud sound at the same time as the heart rate spike.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, Chris, is that summation saying that information came off the health app on the iPhone versus her Fitbit?
That is what
it was. I think it was the health data, wasn't it?
It was the Apple Health app.
It was the app. Yeah.
Okay. So Apple Watches can do a lot of that stuff. I had
that's what they said.
clue.
Yeah. That actually it was a watch, because they said that it could have meant that she, expired. I don't know if we're allowed to say all that on here anymore. Or somebody could have took it off.
Right.
But it worked out, to be the other. But yeah, that's what that was from. Yeah.
Right. And then of course sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. 3:13 a.m. Hoffman's phone sent an emergency crash notification, leading to several callbacks and subsequent voicemails from 911 dispatchers.
And it also went to her mother and aunt too.
Right, and I think her mom had a location tracker on her phone that was tracking, so she
Find My iPhone.
Yeah.
And then she actually had it turned off too. She had it turned off at 1:17 a.m. She had it turned off, and her mother during the conversation on Snapchat kept telling her to turn it back on because she said, "I'm close by. I want you to leave the door unlocked," which she said she usually didn't do that. So she told her, she said, "Let me know when you're close by. Turn your location back on so I can see when you're close by, and I'll go unlock it." And then she saw that she was, because she had turned it on, then she turned it back off. So she told her to turn it back on because she saw that she was in an apartment complex parking lot, and she told her to get off the parking lot. It's trespassing. They go kind of going back and forth with all that. And then she kept asking her to turn her location back on, and she wouldn't do it. That's like the last conversations they had was. And
they were having this conversation over Snapchat. Yeah. So that's another area we're going to get into, because law enforcement routinely is pulling people's social media information from the social media companies themselves. Cat 8 Canary says it was a Life 360 tracker. So I thought that I was reading that she had a Fitbit, but then she had an iPhone with the health app.
Yep.
I know an Apple Watch will do all of this, but for the app to have noticed her heart like that.
It was on her phone. It was on her watch. It was through her. It was an iPhone, but it was their watch sending the messages through the iPhone. I think it was all connected that way because it was an iWatch.
The watch would make the most sense to me, but we know from Murdoch that if the phone's in your pocket, it can record your steps, but the heart rate, I don't see how the phone alone could do that.
I don't see that either.
I don't have an iPhone, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so Alexis is saying Fitbit can be linked to iPhone. So I would, and I didn't watch the trial, and we're just discussing things here. But if I had to guess, I would say that she had to have some kind of wearable to track her heart rate.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's cell phone data. This is really interesting. Another sergeant testified cell phone data that showed search history indicating Louisiana searched Walmart online for a machete. I mean, Really? He literally went online to Walmart and typed in, machete. And then location data showed that Louisma was at both Morgan Creek Park, where the murder is said to have taken place, as well as Lily Lake, where Hoffman's body was found. The sergeant explained that the data matched up with the path that Louisma would have had to take. And then there was also Facebook messages. So there's social being brought
Yeah,
in.
his
So
mom. Yeah, her mom was talking to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says these two were arguing a couple weeks before, but you were talking about Snapchat where mom was talking. So,
Right.
To tie it all together, there's iPhone, just straight up iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
health data, but then there's also cell phone tracking that shows him there. He's literally Googling, or he's on Walmart's app asking or searching for machetes. I mean, this guy was not very smart.
And these stores.
It was an Apple Watch. It's an Apple Watch that led to discovery of a body.
Thank you. The store apps, you're connecting to those whether you realize you are or not, because like I said, even if you don't have your location services necessarily turned on in your operating system, if you have Bluetooth on, like right now I have Bluetooth on because I can't find the cord that I hid from Henry, then your phone is still having a conversation, right? It's still connecting with something that has a signal. Right. So that one, do you feel, Chris, that one was and Jenny, that one was the most interesting because of the health information that came back on it?
Well, what stood out to you? Data, like that, the phone data had his steps, his location, the video surveillance as well, like with his car and all that.
The things.
Yeah,
it kind of all added all of it. Yeah.
And did they take video of her too, or took pictures of her or something? I thought there was pictures.
I didn't get to that. I didn't get into it all the way. I'm still working on that one.
Yeah, we were.
I need to go back and watch that and find out.
We were dual streaming, so I was focused on another trial, so I was kind of half on this one. But I want to think that they even took photos of her. I mean, they were just brutal. I mean, just absolutely brutal. So anyway,
but the Jose Albera one was really interesting. What they saw with the video surveillance on that one, not so much the cell phone as much as video surveillance, but that one was.
So we're gonna talk about.
But he had photos on his phone too.
Right, the victim Melody Hoffman. The trial was in 2024, and there was a lot of. We have surveillance footage. We have the health information, like her heart stopping, the spike in her heart rate. We have her on film in Walmart, or them on film in Walmart. We have a Google search. We have a lot of the things, right? So you guys see now where 20 years ago, it was all about the DNA.
Right.
Now it's all about the digital DNA. It's what I'm going to call it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So Jose Albera.
All right, let me just real quick before we move on. Sure. I was starting to read about the OnePlus Nord and all that stuff, so I just kind of read through it. So the reason they brought that up is Dakota Van Patten, who was a co-defendant. Well, he is going to go to trial, I think, in March or April. So there was a hot spot. So somebody's phone, I guess Melody's phone. Yeah. So the hot spot belonged to Dakota Van Patten. So that's why they testified as to that. So apparently they were using his phone as a hotspot, and they were because it had his password in it. Yeah, that's how they found out. Yeah. And during the interview with Van Patten, we asked for the password to his hotspot. He recited it from memory.
So his initials and stuff. Yeah.
Walking in Walmart with a machete before criming is the ultimate no-no. I've been working on this little video for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's just like it's just a silly little video about what I do for a living, and it's just clips. It's not even like actual video. And I can't get my voice to sync to the timing of the slides. Like that's why I keep pushing it off. But Walmart plays a huge part in that.
I'm sure.
Pammy just had a funny. Yeah, I can't put it up. I haven't learned yet how to put it up on the screen.
DNA plus digit. I don't know that you can because I only have one spot in StreamYard right now.
Don't do StreamYard.
Okay. I didn't know if I could with moderator or not. Okay, cool. That answers my question.
DNA plus digital equals don't do stupid chisel. That's funny.
That's about right.
That's about right. Yep.
Yep.
So do you think, Sam, do you think that DNA still has its place in forensics?
Sure, I do.
I mean, yeah.
I think
It did with Jose, but it did with his
Yeah.
with Abera. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a combo.
I feel like juries were very much expecting DNA, 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 DNA.
Mhm.
And now their expectations are going more towards what did the cell phone say or not say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that DNA is always going to have its place, but these devices with all of this information, including like, right down to where you were or
Right.
weren't, and your car, we're going to talk about that too. Like my car is way, way smarter than me, and it knows a whole lot more than I do.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
It's like Timothy Harrington.
I think that
Mhm.
what we're seeing though is a backlash against some of what they call junk sciences,
Mhm.
things like bite mark technology, that got thrown out years and years ago. So instead now it's genealogy, right? The debate is over
Yep.
getting DNA out of the genealogy databases and whether
Mhm.
that is an invasion of privacy or not.
Mhm.
And I don't have the answer to that question. I have not followed the case law on that. Um, we've got all of this digital information, right? And the police going door to door and asking for camera footage from people who have Ring
Yeah,
cameras. We've
Mhm.
got
like the
the surveillance
Koberger.
cameras
Yeah.
on businesses.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Pammy, we're gonna do a
Yeah,
special
we are.
like Murdoch only stream that because that just was that was a lot, and
Yeah, it was.
that's gonna come. It's coming. It's
Mhm.
coming, guys.
Yeah.
Ooh, coming in
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
Yes, in
Yeah.
2025.
Um,
Yeah.
we just did a rewatch last week of Jerry Burns, who offed 18-year-old Michelle in 1979,
That
and it
was
wasn't
something. Yeah.
until match that they were able to match his DNA through like 23andMe or something to that effect,
Mhm.
and then they brought him to trial and they found him guilty.
We have one right now going on here in West Virginia. It was a 1996 case, I think it was, and they finally figured out who it was through DNA from
Yeah.
back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it
Yeah.
was
Well, that's
also an
how they
SA case.
solved oh my God, it's escaping me now. The California serial
Yeah,
killer,
Golden State. Yeah,
Golden State, thank you. That's how
Yep.
they solved that, was
Yep.
through the genealogy. But the question is, the question becomes, is the DNA that you submit, is that an invasion of privacy? Or I don't freaking know.
Well, during his appeal, that's what his defense was arguing the whole time. And then the appeal, actually, we watched the appeal, which was really fascinating. It went in front
Yeah,
of
it
the
was.
Iowa Supreme Court, and there was like 8 justices, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, maybe
That
that's
was
why
really
it's in my
interesting.
brain. I must have
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
it on. Did
Yeah.
you do that
Yeah.
recently, Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
last
did.
last week. It was
Last
Christmas,
week.
right around Christmas time. Yeah, because
Yeah.
she was off December 18th. It was her anniversary. Was it
Yeah.
45 years, I think, on the 18th? Yeah, so we
I think
dedicated
so, yeah.
that stream to her.
Yeah. Yep.
And then yeah, he appealed it, and his lawyers were arguing Section 1, Paragraph 8, or something, whatever it was, of the Iowa State Code, and it was like, what's mine is mine. Skin cells are mine.
Yeah.
Is a
Right.
straw.
The DNA
Yeah.
came off a straw.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. They followed
Yeah.
him into a pizza ranch or something like that, and he
Yeah,
left.
Pizza
and they-
Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He
And
left
remember
with
the
his
defense
son.
guy talking
Yeah.
about all the DNA on the mic?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, somebody's
Yeah,
gonna
just
clean
talking,
it.
just us talking. It's DNA on the
Yeah.
mic. Yeah,
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting. So it's a struggle. I don't know if it's actually gone to the federal, the U.S. Supreme Court or not, SCOTUS, if you will. But
SCOTUS, yep.
what is mine and what can be used against me?
Right.
Fingerprints.
Right. Well, he was
whatever.
arguing Arizona v. Hicks, which is the landmark case that we've all stood by for years and years and years. So it'll be interesting, and we'll keep our eye on that. And as I get new cases that come in with different kinds of discovery, while I may not be able to speak about the actual case, talking about issues that come up, I think is fair, right? As long as there are no details given.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
So DNA will be another day. So let's go back to Jose Ibarra. He was convicted of malice murder. What was the victim's name? I didn't write it down.
Lake and Riley.
Lakin
Yeah.
Riley.
Yep.
So the only thing I remember having it on. I don't remember listening to it. I know that English was not his first language, and he listened to the
Right.
whole thing through a translator.
That is
Right.
correct.
So,
Yep.
one of you tell me about how the digital data or the cell phone data played a role in that case.
Do you want to take it,
Chris?
Chris? You want me to?
Let
Either
me give
one?
I'll do a quick background in case
Okay.
people.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
they
Jose,
might cover it in that. Yeah.
sure. So Jose Abera was 26, and he was charged with murder and other crimes in February 22nd of 2024. So this happened in February. The trial was going on in October. Lakin Riley was, let's see, she was 22 years old, and she was going to school at Augusta University College, a nursing student. They say that well, she was hit in the head, and she was asphyxiated. They say that he may have tried to essay her, but did not. I don't think he did not succeed. Thank God. So she's jogging along. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. She was on this main path, and there was really and Jenny, you were talking about this. This isn't necessarily cell phone. There's some cell phone in this, but it was more the cameras that were at the apartment complex and then on the path. So you see her jogging all around, and all of a sudden she's like kind of on a pretty main paved, throughway, if you will. Like bikes could go there, pedal bikes, scooters, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden she like goes off into the woods.
Yeah, like a little like this. Yeah, I don't know if she was taking a shortcut somewhere. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, it was weird. So anyway, so she was ambushed in there, and then yeah, she was off.
Yeah.
But her friends, I think within 30 minutes or something, her friends were trying to get a hold of her, and she wasn't answering her phone or something, and they went searching for her.
Yeah.
They found her pretty quickly. It wasn't a long time.
What's really interesting to me, and we're all in the same age range, is friends sharing their location with each other. And
it's like a buddy system.
Right. And while I think it's great because it's probably saving people, right? I keep thinking, would I have done that back in,
Right.
89, 90? Would I have had location sharing turned on with my friends? Like, I don't know. I could
probably
just
would
see
have.
it being an issue of some kind. I don't know.
I could see it as a female. I could see that as a male. Me personally, I would be like, no.
Probably,
I turn my phone off, or I don't keep it on me, or I turn the ringer. I don't want people to know where I.
That's another thing too. Like if you do share it, what happens if you get into like some kind of fight?
Yeah.
And then you have to like turn it off real quick because they can be like, well, I know where they are. So
yeah, exactly. I can see how it could lead to some trouble, but I just petty drama between friends. So I have on my notes here, one, he did a bench trial, he didn't do a jury trial, which is interesting. Right. Did she have on a watch or a wearable of some kind?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
And
she had
phone.
She had a watch. Right? Yeah, her watch. Yeah, her watch actually stopped registering her heart rate at 9:28 a.m.
Okay.
And then with him, there was like video of him on the trail, like the miniature trail, I should say, there at the woods. So he actually, the prosecution said that he was actually stalking and hunting for women because he was going from like 6:52 in the morning all the way to 7:54. He was like right there in that path area. And then he would go around the building. And then at one point, he actually ducked down by a door. I don't know if
that was
weird.
Pretty chilling. Did you watch it? Jenny, did you watch the trial?
I watched parts of it.
Okay.
A lot of it I was listening, but I went back and watched that part of the trial. Yeah. And how he was like stalking. He would go like around the building and then come out and then go to the woods. And he would stand there and then he would go back again. It was really weird. And then he disappeared for like 2 minutes and then he came back out and then he went right to the fields there where the woods are. And then at 9:05, she's on the trail and it's like right at the same spot that he was at, So, and then he had on, like they found at the dumpster where he lived at 9:44 a.m., they saw him putting a jacket, his jacket, into the dumpster. And his roommate, somebody that she shared the house with, identified him from the video and said he hardly ever took that jacket off, like he wore it all the time. Then they found photos on his phone of him in that jacket, in the hat, the same shirt and everything that was in the videos. So that's how like they connected that was him. And then they found all kinds of like access. I mean, they found his, like talking about the DNA, on that jacket was his and her blood on there.
Mhm.
And then she had DNA underneath her fingernails of him.
Mhm.
There was
So we
also
have
jacket
we
and
have
gloves. So it's a combo of all that.
so we have I was just going to say, yeah, we have a combo there of excellent DNA, it sounds like, right? No
Mhm.
question
Yeah.
on the DNA.
Yeah.
And and damning evidence. I have a note here that says the crime scene area was located in an area with no Wi-Fi coverage,
Mhm. I don't
which is
recall that,
Yeah,
interesting.
but it
I'm not
might be.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was on campus, right? I think this happened on campus.
Yeah. It was campus security.
And it was,
Yeah.
I remember the footage, and it looked somewhat isolated, right? It's kind of in the middle of the woods,
That
but
woods
it's
part.
still in the middle of the
Yeah.
city, right? I mean, it's not like, they're not out in the country. She was going to
Yeah.
school, and
Now,
And
were
there was a
they
lot of people
able
jogging at that time too.
yeah.
were they able to find her through her phone?
Her friends found
Friends,
her.
yeah.
I don't know
They
if I don't think so. I don't think so. Chat,
I
let
think
us know
I
if
think her
somebody knows.
friends were calling her or something, and
Yeah, I don't think they
yeah,
pinged it or they found
I
it. I
don't
think
think
they just.
so. Yeah.
But how did they find her? Because she was off like 30 yards or so.
Yeah.
It was hard to find her.
I have a
Yeah.
note here that says
Mhm.
watch gives location and that she may have been wearing a
That's what it was.
garment.
Yeah, the
Okay.
location. That's right. The location where he was there in the woods and where she went were like
Mhm.
almost identical on the time
Mhm.
period. That's
Mhm.
how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
the defense kept saying that he shared his phone with a couple other people and said, "What? That's what they were saying. Well, how do we know it was him?"
It glowed at
You know,
night.
so they were showing that, but then they came and said, no, he was the only one that had access. Like he was the only one shown to be using it at that period of time, and
Yep.
it was back on his charger at 9:58 a.m.
Mhm.
So all this took place between 9:05, you know,
Mhm.
all the way to 9:58, and then her watch went completely. Her heart stopped, you know,
Mhm.
on the data at 9:28.
Yeah.
So at 9:44, he's stripping down at his place or the
Mhm.
jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the
He
glove.
was.
Yeah. Pam made the glove
Yeah.
or glowed. The Gothic said the glove, but yeah, they found his gloves and stuff. So yeah, it was messy. But thank you,
And
Pammy.
then
I didn't know that.
I don't. But it wasn't at night. They found her during the day.
Yeah, they
But
found her in the morning.
I guess it could still have glowed or be glowing. But
Yeah.
the surveillance video,
Unless they
if
found
you
it after,
will,
maybe.
yeah, of the apartment complex, and there's a bus stop, and there's students, there
Right.
going, and there's a
That's where he
bus
was
coming.
hiding. He was like standing
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
he was just like you could just see him. He was like a caged animal, just walking back and
Yeah,
forth, back and
it's
forth.
weird.
And somebody called a peeping tom, so they think it was him that he was peeping in some of
Yeah.
these. But the after search
After.
found
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thanks, Pammy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So he was sentenced, found guilty, sentenced to life.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
And
McKinley also.
do you feel like the DNA and the cellular digital information were equally as strong?
I think
If
the videos
yeah,
and the DNA.
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
Well,
I
his
think.
cell phone helped for sure because it located
Yeah.
him there, it geolocated
Right.
him there. But defense
Yeah.
was saying, well, his brother had access, and they kept throwing his brother under the bus.
Yeah,
From
they
what I
did.
remember,
Yeah.
But yeah, so the cell
Yeah.
phone location, the video surveillance, the DNA. I mean, he was toast to begin with. I don't know why he
Yeah.
just didn't take a plea
I-
deal, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
ask myself that a lot when um, people are charged and the evidence is so
Strong against them.
yeah, exactly. And I wonder why they go to trial. But I've
Yeah.
got one coming in 2 weeks that I'm like, why are we taking this to trial? Because the state didn't make an offer. We don't have a choice.
Right.
Then there's that.
And
We
I
always
really think a
assume-
lot of it, yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of it too, even when they, like in Sarah Boone's case, I think a lot of it is they want to get on TV because they know it's going to be on TV and they're so demented. Some of these people are so demented. They're like, I'm going to go to trial because I'm going to be on TV. Everybody's going to see me. I'm going to prove my point. And then they lose. So it's
Right.
like, but I think Sarah Boone was one of those people that thought she was going to get on TV and everybody was going to believe everything she said.
Right. But then
So
to Sam's point is maybe with Sarah, we know that a plea was offered, but
Yes.
there may be times where a plea is not offered, and we're
Correct.
like, why are they taking this to trial? Why are they going to put
right.
this family through this? Maybe it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sometimes they tell us, a lot of times they don't, so we don't know.
I always assume there's always a plea deal offered,
No.
but that's
No.
not
No.
the case.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
Sam has said that. Yeah.
And he's a what we call a PRR, which is prison releasee reoffender, which means that he was not, I think that it means, I don't trust my brain a whole lot right now, but that he's not that long out of a prison stint before he got caught doing
Sounds like it.
this great, I cannot wait to tell you guys about the facts of that case.
Wow.
Like, it's supposed to go to trial mid-January. And then
Oh.
I can tell you the public facts of it. It's craziness. People
Right.
are crazy.
People are crazy. Well, please
Yeah.
let us know if anything is streamed, because A, I'll
I will.
please.
go
You know,
to it, and then
well,
B, we'll
yeah,
stream it,
I will. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, so who else do we have that we
Timothy
were good?
Harrington. Timothy
got-
Harrington still
Yeah.
is.
All right. So we
Still,
need
I'm
the
still
facts.
scratching my head. He
We
has
need some
because
facts.
he showed that he has an amazing timeline of that cell phone.
Need
So
some
Chris,
facts.
Take
Okay.
it away.
So Chris,
It's amazing.
you
Amazing.
guys just did this case.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. All right. So Timothy Harrington from Grenada, Mississippi, he faced capital murder charges in the death of Jimmy J. Lee, who was 20 years old, a graduate student. And this happened July 8th of 2022. This also happened on Old Miss campus, or they met going to Old Miss, right? So Jimmy Lee's body was never recovered, and the judge actually declared him deceased in October at the request of his parents. So both men were alumni at the University of Mississippi. Lee was pursuing a master's degree. He was known for his creativity in fashion and makeup. So he was known in the LGBTQ community. He was gay. He was openly gay, but he was not trans, or he wasn't. He
Which
was
they
basically
kept trying to say he was. That pissed me.
Yeah. He just liked to dress up in drag, basically.
Yeah,
That was
it's a
the
big
extent of it.
difference.
Now
Yeah.
Harrington was. It came out that he was on the down low, which meant that he was not out, and he came from
Right.
a very religious family, very upstanding. I think his grandfather owned like 80 not apartments, but just residences, and and his dad owned like 40 or 50. So they were very well known in the community, which was Oxford, Mississippi.
They were like the Murdahl family name.
Exactly. And I think his grandfather was a pastor for like 50 years or something like that. So it was you could see that it was, he grew up in a very religious household, very upstanding, standards of the community. And he was gay, or at least he had feelings towards that. And he was not going to come out. He was not going to tell his parents that. So, so let's see. So that is pretty much okay. So Harrington this is big. So this happened, and the 2 days after Lee went missing, the Ole Miss put out flyers digitally and print around campus, right? Because they had gone through, I think that year alone, they went through like four LGBTQ people had gotten murdered, so they were very sensitive to that. So they put out a bolo basically.
I'm sorry.
Four in that community.
At Ole Miss, like around Ole Miss?
No, I think it was in the state of Mississippi, maybe, but one for sure was found in a pond or a lake or something.
Okay.
So the whole community was just very sensitive to it. So, so 2 days after Lee went missing, because it was his mom's birthday, and she said they talked like all the time. So she was getting text messages from him that night, but then at 7 o'clock in the morning, she called him and he didn't answer his phone. And by like 10 or 11 o'clock, she's like, something's wrong. And I think she sent she sent one of his friends over along with some police. So anyway, a bolo was put out 2 days afterwards, and then Harrington, according to the prosecution, is monitoring all of this. So he had 2 weeks to clean up, if you will. So no DNA was found in Harrington's apartment.
That's why. Okay, because I was popping in and out listening to your stream of that case. Okay.
Yeah. No DNA was found. He had a moving truck, so no DNA was found in his moving truck.
That
no DNA
was weird.
found. Yeah, no DNA was found in his apartment. But there is huge, there's huge connections from them
Yes.
talking Snapchat, texting each other. There's surveillance video of Harrington that we can talk about, in time. So that's kind of the overview. So where do you want to take it
So
from here?
what interests me, and I've had a case like this, I do have a case like this, where they use Snapchat. And my
Yeah.
question would be, so I remember being in law school. You guys, I graduated a decade ago. Like, where
Wow.
is the time flying by? I can't believe it. Oh my God.
I know.
I've been out of high school.
So I
No,
remember
1986. So
I remember my during my 2L year, so very long ago, that I was working in the court legal aid in Broward County, which is Fort Lauderdale. And I had Facebook at the time, and I did two different like ongoing series, if you will. It was just photos. And one was what Miami students drive, which was like Lamborghinis and Maseratis, wrapped in gold and craziness. The other one was the shoes that the women prosecutors and judges and just anybody were wearing in Broward County court. And I put that up on Facebook, and one of my classmates says, "You need to Snapchat that to me." And I said, "What the hell is Snapchat?" Because I didn't
yeah,
know. I
I didn't know
still don't know.
2015. I didn't know what it was.
But I was under the impression that people use Snapchat because they thought it disappeared. Is that true? Do we know? Because we're old. Do we
I
know
thought so
anything
too. I
about
thought
the
it only
Snapchat?
lasts like
Yeah, it disappears for 24
30
hours, I think.
But it
Well, is it?
doesn't,
If
though.
you can set it for 24 hours, but if you don't
Yeah.
set it, then once you read it, it kind of, unless you're right in that conversation, once you read it, it's gone. Unless you save it, you can save it in there. And it's,
Right.
of course, then they can go back and pull it out. But yeah, you can actually highlight it and
Yeah.
click on it, and it'll save that. Like if you want to remember, the
Okay.
conversation, or if you want to save a picture or whatever, you can save that into Snapchat. Because I
So
use
at
it
the
multiple
the
times a day.
at the time, though, Pammy is saying this. It used to be, but I think there's a work. So Jenny just explained, I guess, the workaround. But I think back when I'm talking about, which would have been 2013-ish, that it was disappearing. And I can't, I'm just not on the socials. So I was wondering if why some of my clients are using it is because they are under the impression it disappears. But if they're using it, then maybe they know that it doesn't.
Some people don't know. Yeah. I didn't realize it when I first started using it, that because I was like, because I'll have like the thing pulled up, but then my phone would go dark. And then if I wait too long and go back, I'm like, oh crap, it's not there anymore. So now I know if I send somebody a long ass message, I highlight on my end just in case they didn't have a chance to read that message, because it does. It's not there anymore after a certain period of time.
Right.
So yeah. But
So
the timeline in that was.
So going back to the case, then they were talking to each other via text message. Is that right, Chris?
Snapchat was the big thing, wasn't it, Chris?
Yes. It started as a text message. So it's long, but I'll go through it and we can stop
please.
and talk.
Yeah,
So at 2:54, Lee sent Harrington a message saying, "You in Oxford," at 2:54. And then also Lee was talking to his other friend, but we can get into that. So then at 4:01, Lee's phone pinged at his residence, which was Capitol Walk Apartments, and it shows there's video surveillance of his car leaving. And then at 4:05, Lee's phone pinged at Harrington's residence. So they only lived like 5 minutes away from each other, right? Then at 4:36, Lee comes back. So, all right. So at 3 o'clock, he's like, "Are you there? Are you in Oxford?" 4 o'clock, he leaves. 4:36, he comes back. So presumably they had sex, which we do find out that they did have sex at that point in time. Then they're kind of going back and forth from like 5 o'clock, and then Harrington receives an Instagram notification that Lee could not receive his messages at 5:13. So that means Lee blocked him. So Lee then blocks Harrington, right? And then they go on Snapchat at 5:17. Harrington comes up with a new user account number. And Lee's like, who the fuck is, sorry, who TF is this? Right. So Lee blocked Harrington. Right. And then they're kind of going back and forth on Snapchat until, okay, so at 5:26, Harrington asked Lee, you coming back or not? And then Lee's like, no, why? And I think at that point in time, he's like, you're just trying to lure me back. So that was really big to me when he said that.
Yeah, me too.
He's like, you're just trying. Oh, here at 5:37. So a lot of things are happening really fast right now between 5:13 and 6 o'clock. So at 5:37, Lee says, yeah, now it seems like you're just trying to lure me over there to beat my, and then expletive.
He said that.
He says, yeah, you're just trying to lure me over there. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. It seems now it seems like you just trying to lure me over there to beat probably my ass or something.
Yeah.
And then,
Wow.
yeah. Then Harrington's like, you tripping. I do feel bad because we cool. I ain't trying to end it like this. The messages continue. And then, okay. Then at 5:44, Lee says, making it up. And then I'm coming. And then at 5:57, Harrington searches on Google, how long does it take to strangle somebody, Gabby Petito?
Yeah, and the reason it said Gabby Petito is like a big thing is because like when you're putting something in, it just the pull down menu. That's why the Gabby Petito
pops up. Yeah, it pops up.
Yeah, it was all about.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So just so I'm clear that I understand this. Sometimes when you do a Google search, it tries to autofill what it thinks you are looking for.
Yeah.
So when he typed in, how long does it take to strangle someone? The Gabby Petito part sort of auto-populated?
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Jeez.
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So he does that at 5:57. Now, 3 minutes before that, Lee says, I'm coming over. So 3 minutes later, he Googles that. And then 6:03, Lee sends through Snapchat open. And then so something happened at that point. So then at 6:08, Lee's phone pinged at Harrington's apartment. And then that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the last that we ever hear of Lee. So we thought maybe it might have been rough sex or something gone wrong, because they kind of talked about maybe they were into choking, that kind of stuff. They were into rough stuff. So we thought maybe, but I think maybe Lee walked in and Harrington just pounced him and, did what he did.
But, okay, so obviously state doesn't have to prove motive, but what was there a motive here, guys?
Do you want to go, Jenny?
Yeah. Well, we all thought in the chat, and I think that's what they even said, was that he wanted to stay on the down low and didn't want anybody to know that he was actually into men. Didn't want anybody to know he was gay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it happened. Yeah. Especially his family. He didn't want anybody to know.
Lee was his first.
We do now.
Lee was his first, and he didn't want that getting out. So
But that trial did not end the way that I don't think any of us expected it to.
Yeah.
How did it end?
Mistrial.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was 11. It was 11-1. The judge sent them back, I think, 2 or 3 times. Read them the Allen charge, and they.
But he didn't give him very long. Was it 5 hours? 5 hours? I don't remember. Was it 5 hours? I don't think it was very long. Was it?
No, it was longer than that.
Was it? That's another case. But it was all one day, wasn't it? Was it all the same day? Or maybe because I watched it with you the same day.
I'm trying to think if it was. Yeah, I think it was because they were sequestered, and they were sequestered, and they went to like 9. You know what? We were supposed to do a shoot.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and Sneaky was supposed to be on. They kept pushing it, and ultimately we had to cancel it because they ultimately did come back at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock our time.
Right.
That they So I think they had been deliberating at least 5 hours. Yeah. And at one point the judge said, when they wrote a note saying we're
9.5 hours.
9.5. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
The judge said, don't tell me which way you guys land, meaning, but tell me what the breakdown is. And they said there's only one person. So they didn't say if they were guilty or not guilty, but one person was a holdout. So we have no idea. Yeah. It was 11 on one side, 1 on the other, but we don't know which side the 11 was on and which side the 1 was on.
Right. And in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion was that defense ran the courtroom. He never asked permission to go up and approach the witnesses.
Right.
Everything that he did was very disrespectful to the judge, and he just let him do it. He just let him act that way. And that's what really irked me. and the judge there's a lot of homophobia in that case to begin with. There really, really was in that courtroom.
Yeah.
So, but
and
it was unreal.
The defense was a he was a
Horan.
a state senator or congressperson. I forget.
I don't remember.
Let me think. Timothy here. Hold on, I can get his name. Yeah, because that reminded
me
of that
Horan.
that Craig Lewis case where his defense was also he's an American attorney, politician, serving member of the Mississippi House of Representatives from the 34th District.
Right.
So, yeah, Kevin Horan. Yeah. So we watched two. It was Craig Lewis. He was accused of setting his wife on fire. I don't know if you remember that one or not.
Wow.
Yeah. And
before you talk about that one, let me ask you one question about the Timothy Harrington case. If you took out everything the cell phone told you, would you get a guilty? Would you even know who would be the suspect if you just didn't have the cell phones and the social media and the messaging back and forth? Do you think that they would have had a suspect?
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, but they wouldn't have had, with all the evidence. I think it would have been not guilty. I don't think it would have been mistrial.
May have. Well, they had the video surveillance of Harrington driving Lee's car into the apartment complex, and then him jogging back out. So they had that, and that's circumstantial at best, but
it still wins a lot of cases.
Damning as well. Yeah.
I mean, well, I was just thinking about the balance of the evidence, right? Because this is a case where, oddly, there is no DNA for such a personal crime, if that is how it happened. Yeah. So it seems like a lot of the conviction came down to what was on social media and the phones.
Another thing too was his Pomeranian. He loved that dog. And when they went to the house to try to find him, when his friend did, the dog was inside, but he wasn't. He tried to get that dog to be allowed in school too. Yeah. That would
not have led necessarily to the person who did the
right.
It just showed that something happened to him, nefarious, not because, as Jenny was saying, he wanted to take it to him into classes. There was one teacher, I think, counselor that came on and said, he even wanted to take his Pomeranian into class. Like he even had it on the car. I think he had iHeart
everywhere.
Yeah, he just loved this dog. And as soon as they got to the apartment, the dog was barking on the inside. They knew immediately something was off. So
they knew he wasn't just missing.
If you and him,
Henry would probably
Henry would like
me.
Henry would eat you. He'd be gnawing on your calf.
He does that on the daily anyway. So
Alexis, I think the phone data was very important.
Yeah.
Alexis says she thinks the phone data was important. I do too. I think that played a lot. But
it
ended a mistrial. It just still blows my mind.
I know.
I just don't understand the mistrial. I really don't.
I know. So, Jenny, did you watched it with us and everything? Do you think it was 11 guilty and 1 not guilty, or 11 not guilty and 1 guilty?
It depends on how much the homophobia played in. Mm-hmm. If anybody was on there that was, then it would have been 11 against and 1 for. But I think it was the other way. Mm-hmm. What was the poll? Do you remember what the poll results were that you put in there? Like how many people thought it was 11 guilty? I think it was 11. I think it was 11 guilty.
Let me see.
And 1 not.
I know.
Let's see. I think it's a possibility that the town name may have had a lot to play in it too, because they were just popular people.
Okay. So I have verdict hour. So we thought under 1 hour was 8%. 1 to 3 hours. This was to deliberate 55%. 3 to 6 hours was 29%. That's where I fell in, and then 8%.
I fell in the other one.
Yeah. 8%.
Yeah. I thought it was the 55%. I was in that one. I thought the 1 to 3. Right. Yeah. I thought we had one. Maybe we just talked about it. How many people thought that he was that it was going to be 11 to 1 guilty?
Oh, I got it. 91% of us thought he was guilty.
Yeah.
5% not guilty, and 2% were not sure.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I thought it was pretty damning evidence. I thought they proved their
I did too.
Beyond a
I
reasonable
did too.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But I remember catching little tiny pieces of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good one. It was a good one. It was the camera was like up on the moon, a fly on the wall, up on the moon.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird courtroom, and the
Yeah.
way they had like the witness was like the judge was here, the witness was down here. So I'm thinking, if you're way over there, how are you going to see him?
Right.
I don't know. It was,
Yeah.
and the way the light was coming, it was just strange all around. But yeah,
It was
that
yeah.
one's
But it was
yeah.
a good one. I'm glad we covered that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll go to trial and they'll have more. I'm hoping they have a better way to present the evidence when they go back to trial, if they bring it back again.
Yeah.
So
I just looked last week and there's nothing yet. They
Yeah,
probably
I
won't
did
make a
too.
decision until
After the new year.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you choosing the cases you're streaming, Chris?
Good question.
That is a good question. The rewatches or the live ones or both?
Both.
Both.
Right, Sam? You think both?
All right. Rewatches, it's a kind of a crapshoot. Well, it's actually not. It's easy. If it's a clean stream, if there's no commentator talking over it, and if I have the entire trial from start to finish, and it's good video and audio, that's easy. That's the no-brainer. Because I have a whole book behind me of people suggesting trials, and I go and look for them.
Yeah.
You specifically. Matter of fact, well, I can't get up because I'm plugged in, but that one, the girl who got burned or whatever, that one,
Jessica Chambers.
yeah, we were talking about that, and I don't think I think the video, I can't find the video or something.
Yeah,
Or
you said you have a
video's
note
wonky.
about the video being wonky.
Yeah, and then there was a snake wrangler. She killed her husband, and it's like
That I know all of that because since I'm in that community, that was
okay. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I want to cover this. And it's like only 3 or 4 days. And the day she gets up to testify, I can't find it anywhere. So I'm not gonna show that trial. There's this one with this TikTok guy who offed 2 people, and we want to watch that, but it's just his testimony, and it's awesome. I mean, it's really, really good. I'm not going to give a name away because I still want to see if we can find it.
So is it your chat that is bringing cases from across the country or the world to your attention?
They suggested, yes. Our mods, we have a potential cases chat going on with our mods. They bring stuff to us. But the caveat is you can make a suggestion all you want, but you have to find
the stream,
a clean stream, good audio, good video, the entire trial from start to finish. And then we will definitely do it. Now, that being said, that's for the rewatches. The current ones, kind of the same, but we also don't want to do the trials that everybody else is doing. So we're in a real conundrum with Kohlberger because everybody's going to be doing Kohlberger. And I was talking
everybody.
I'm definitely watching that one.
I was talking to Baker about it. He's like, he's not going to do it. And we're kind of with him because it's like a five-month trial. I don't want to get hung up for 5 months. There's going to be 10 other trials that are going to be just as juicy going on, and guess what? Nobody's going to be covering those. So that's why we want to, I don't know. We're still up in the air about that.
We talked
what about
that
the Mark Howard, the one that, that one?
I don't
It was
know.
the Houston lawyer that shot and burned his son's body.
Oh, geez.
It's in Texas. That'll be coming at some point. It just happened in December, so happened this month. So that one, I've got some stuff I've been writing down, the different ones. I want to see how they go.
I've got an awesome one coming up, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm just going to read you. I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to keep it for us, but I'm going to
surprise.
Let me find. Hold on. I'm not going to say the name of it, but here's the description. So this person who's an aspiring actress, she was indicted of the gruesome murder of her mom. She's accused of shooting her, stabbing her, and then cooking her body parts in an oven.
Wow.
Yes!
There's your crazies. Your crazies, Sam. We're on that one, aren't you?
Over this. I am all over this. So
I can't wait to watch that one with you.
Yeah. So when the police arrived on the scene, they found body parts cooking in an oven. And then she claimed she was a witch. Oh, I am all.
I know which one you're talking about.
No, don't say it.
I'm not. I can't remember the name, but I know which one you're talking about now.
Yeah, and I found pictures.
Anybody in the chat.
Don't say the name.
Don't spoil. No spoilers, please. No spoilers, please.
Yeah. Yep. So she's accused of casting spells and cooking body parts. So that's.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I will do that. Oh, and Stephen Stearns will probably go. Jules and I will be there, and also Surviving the Survivor. Joel's going to be there, so I have a chance to meet him. I met Peter at Sarah. I'll meet Joel at Stephen. Yeah. So anyway.
Hey Sam, the question that my friend Michelle had about because I know in this one case, which one was it was it Melody? Yeah, Melody. The McKinley Lucy.
Louisa.
Thank you, Louisa.
Yes,
That makes
Louisa.
sense. Her phone was damaged, and they were still able to get information. But Michelle had asked if it's broken, or I know the answer, but just to say it on here, if it's broken or turned off, can they still find information, the pinging, like anything from it?
So
I don't
data
know if
would
she's still in here or
remain
not, but
data would remain like on the chip, which may or may not be salvageable. But if it were completely dead, like no signal, then it's not transmitting location. The only thing you would get would be the last place it pinged. And to get that information, you would go to the carrier and get carrier data records, which puts in the latitude and longitude.
right.
I'm going to show that on one of our upcoming streams. I'm going to show you guys how they don't need the phone to, they don't need your actual phone to basically, I see people in the chat saying, well, what if you're not with the phone? And I've seen defendants try, it doesn't seem to fly with juries, but the phone company, without you ever having the phone and giving it to law enforcement or them taking it, will still tell you where the phone was. But
Right.
if a phone is dead, then there's no signal coming in or out of it. Depending on
Correct.
the damage, depends on whether the data can come out of it or not. Same thing if you pour water into your laptop or coffee, like I did 5 times in law
Oh
school.
my gosh, my mother-in-law
That-
has put hers in the washing machine quite a few times.
Oh my God, that's so
there's-
insane.
Okay,
Well,
Michelle's still in here.
Brian Higgins from the Karen Read, he's the ATF guy. He went to a military base because he was throwing away some of his garbage. And
Yeah.
it just happens that he drove through a military base to get to the
Oh,
garbage
wow.
dump.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
He,
Well,
that's where he destroyed his cell phone.
One
Right.
case I'm hoping they show in Virginia right now, they're trying to fight to keep it out, and that's the Nareesh Bot trial, and that's
Oh, I
the
haven't heard of
one.
that one. What's
Yeah.
Oh,
The mom,
I
yeah,
know
the mom,
some of that.
the Momta Bot.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Just
But so
hearing
far
of
they've
a
been
wife.
arguing it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not
just-
streaming
yeah.
it. Yeah, that was supposed
Not
to happen. Yeah, before Christmas. We wanted
Well,
to
they
stream
actually
it,
they
but-
put it. Yeah, they put it off. It's been because they
Oh.
added the M charge. First it was
Okay.
just getting rid of him, getting rid of her, but now they've added it. So it's actually been moved. So it's going to be, I got it in my notes. August. Pre-trial, yeah, all that. See, all that never happened because they added the M charge in. So they're having a hearing on March 20th, and then on August the 27th is when the pre-trial and the status hearings, and then the trial actually starts 9/8 and goes to 10/2 as of right now. Of course, it's probably all going to change because of that new charge. But yeah, they put in, the defense is asking for it not to be shown.
Okay.
So I haven't looked anymore to see whether or not they're going to allow court cameras in. But Virginia's weird.
So
Virginia,
Pammy
West
makes,
Virginia are weird.
Pammy makes a point, and I keep telling you guys, your phones are going to tell on you, and if your phone
Yep.
doesn't, your car will.
iCloud,
But
yeah.
also iCloud,
Yep.
or if you are like a Google Chrome user, you have a Chromebook and an Android phone, you don't even have to have all that. Google actually has a thing called Takeout, and they just pull your entire account, everything you've ever done,
Wow.
straight out, and dump it into Discovery for people like me to try to fight through.
I hate to see what mine is. All this research I've done, I hate to see what mine is right now.
I know. I would be toast. If anything happens and they need to
Yeah.
go through my Google searches or anything,
Yeah.
we're toast.
Yeah,
Um,
same with me.
Megan Boswell, because I thought that trial was going to start. They had jury selection. That's in Tennessee. She's accused of offing her 18-month-old daughter. That one we had.
Sorry, Barry Adams.
Oh,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris, please.
no, it's okay. So that's one we're going to be keeping an eye on.
Barry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, that's she's like a gypsy. Did you do anything? Do you know anything about this case?
I watched it with you.
Yeah.
What
It's Tennessee. So this little girl
Tennessee.
went missing December 26th of 2019, but they didn't report her missing until February 19th of 2020. So it was like almost 2
What?
months later. Yeah. And then her mom and her boyfriend split and they went to another state. but they eventually brought them back, and ultimately this poor little girl's remains were found on Megan's dad, so it would be her grandfather's plot. It's really intense. Let's see, her mother was incarcerated on drug charges. Tommy, who is the dad, he runs a paving business. And then Megan went on TV news reports saying, I don't know what happened to her. She was blaming her mom. She thought her
mom,
her
and then
mom
she ended up blaming him too at some point.
Yeah. No, it's really, she's provided conflicting and false statements. She's blaming Ethan Perry, who is her biological dad, claiming mom took Evelyn to a Virginia campground. She's got like 20 charges filed against her. So anyway, that's supposed to start March 11th. Oh no, I'm sorry. When's it going to start? February 3rd. So that's going to be early February. Good. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
If there's anybody in here who is a crime junkie and likes trials, you should definitely be subscribed to Trial TV Live.
Yes.
And if you're here and you're watching, it'd be super, super nice if you would subscribe to this channel.
Yes.
Because I was at 140 today, and this is I think this is my 9th or 10th week on YouTube. So I'm super excited about that. But I looked on the Google Analytics or the YouTube Analytics, 66% of the people who are watching my videos are not subscribed, and that makes me sad. Please subscribe and
please subscribe. Absolutely.
And 100%, you guys, Trial TV Live is so much fun. Great people, great coverage.
Great chat.
Yeah, great everything. Yes. So let's talk about our last person that we're going to talk about. So what I did chat was I asked Chris and Jenny to give me cases that went to trial this year in which
Chris came out with the list.
Yeah, Chris
he's the man. He came up with it.
Chris came up with the list.
Earbud.
So to give me cases that went to trial this year that had a big cellular impact or digital impact. So that's where Chris has been watching so many trials. He's going to be a lawyer in a year. Yeah, leave your DNA on the like button. Hi, PME. You crack me up, by the way. This whole conversation that is going on in my chat, I just can't even, because you guys are hilarious. And I love you so much. So the last one we're going to talk about tonight is Robert Tellis.
Yes, Robert Tellis.
He was a piece of work. Piece of work.
Why don't you tell us about Robert Tellis?
Let me tell us.
Yeah,
Robert.
Yeah, you tell it because you're better.
All right, so this happened out in Nevada, Las Vegas specifically, and Mr. Tellis was a former Democratic county administrator of the estates for Clark County. So basically, I think when you passed away, he would make sure that the wills were, and you didn't have anybody that would, you didn't have any survivors or people that survived you. He would take care of that and the estates therein. So he was charged with offing Jeff German, who was 69 at the time, and this happened in September of 2022. So German was he wrote for the Las Vegas Review and a couple other papers out there, but he was a beloved journalist, and everybody knew him. And his claim to fame was he went toe to toe with some of the mafia out in, I think it was the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah, he went toe to toe with them. Yeah, the best cross exam. So Tellis eventually did take the stand, and because he's a politician and a lawyer, he basically did a narrative, and it was just
okay. I was wondering,
so much
I
fun.
thought maybe he was representing himself.
Did
he represent him?
No, he had.
I thought he. For some reason, I thought he did.
No, he had law. Nope, he had representation.
Okay,
but he was a lawyer and a politician, so you knew he was going to take the stand, and he just did a narrative, and he just went for it. It was great. Let's see. Yeah, it was great. So let's see. So the theory was, he did appoint. Oh, that's right, Aaron. To remind me, at points in his pretrial, he did represent himself, and we did a deep dive on him. He had like 10 pretrials that we showed leading up to his actual trial, which was interesting. That was the first time that we did that. So ultimately, the state was saying that Tellis did what he did because Gurman was writing some negative articles about him, and that he was having relations with a female coworker, and there were 4 women within within Tellis's office that were, basically were getting. He called them the old guard, and they
I forgot about that.
they found they kind of stalked him, and they saw that he was having relationships with this with another coworker. So Gurman was writing some negative articles about him. So that's the state's motive, if you will. But where the DNA comes in heavily. So when I first kind of heard about this case, I didn't know about cell phone data. The main thing was that they found Tellis's DNA underneath Gurman's fingernails. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a tall mountain to climb.
Yeah.
How are you going to get around that? His defense was that it was all planted by the police.
Oh,
Because he was uncovering, Tellis was uncovering this whole scheme that he was then accused of doing. So the scheme was basically, I guess, when people die and they don't have anybody to leave their house to, he would auction it off to a realtor, and then they would, for like pennies on the dollar, and then that realtor would make, millions of dollars, reselling it. So Tellis was trying to expose that, but then people were accusing him of doing the same thing. So it got pretty tangled, that's for sure. So that's kind of the backstory of that. Gurman was brutally stabbed. There's a surveillance video, so digital evidence of this guy walking. It looks like a gentleman, has this big hat on, wearing a orange vest and gloves, and he like kind of lies in wait. There's some ring camera footage of him lying in wait, and I don't think you actually see the actual stabbing, but you kind of see Jeff come out. Jeff parks the car in his garage. He walks around, and then there's kind of a little kerfuffle, but you don't quite see it. But you know what's going on. So he was stabbed on the 2nd. It wasn't until the next day that his body was found. So he was out in the Nevada heat for 24 hours or so.
Wow.
They didn't find it the next morning.
Yeah.
What made an orange vest and a giant straw hat? Like, was he trying to disguise himself as like a yard worker, road worker or something?
Yep, exactly.
And it was in his SUV, like the SUV, like the evidence showed that he was, like the video, like the street video showed him like basically casing it out, right, Chris? Like he was like, he left his house, then he went there, and he was like doing these circles or something, and then he had the orange one in there.
Yeah, he took over 100 photos in August of Jeff Gurman's house that was on his phone, and he couldn't explain that away. He said, "Oh, those were planted. I didn't do that."
Yeah, played it. Yeah.
Literally Google and Google Maps, Google Earth. He didn't actually go there and take photos, but he used Google Maps.
So he was like triangulating where the house was, or mapping it.
Just mapping it out, like over 100
and then he
photos.
Parked, and he parked right down the road and walked. Up there, and it was caught on the neighbor across the street caught him in the ring. Yeah.
And I think
then he walked back, and he had that gate. Remember the gate,
the
way he walked?
Yeah. And I think it was that neighbor across the street were the ones that found him because they were nosy, if you will, and they're like, they knew Jeff, and they're like, they hadn't seen him for 24 hours, so they went over to check him out, and there they found him on, in the bushes, if you will.
Yeah.
So
and Tanika, good point. Yeah, he had a gym bag. I forgot about the gym bag that he was carrying.
So DNA is involved, digital evidence is involved,
his SUV,
cell phone
the way it
data.
looked.
Kind of had everything. He took the stand. It was, and that unfortunately that's one of the trials we're going to have to delete because of YouTube and everything. But we will definitely restream it because that's a good one to restream.
He kept saying it wasn't his SUV, but they had certain distinctive features. That was his SUV, and when they found it in his driveway, it was the same distinctive features.
Yeah, and there was
the defense brought up, down to the rims, everything.
Yeah, I would say one good thing the defense brought up. There's a photo of him of the SUV. It's like a maroon burgundy color SUV, and it's driving. And there's a picture of the guy, and it because he's bald, right? And and the defense is like, is this the same guy? It's profile, And that actually brought up some doubt for me. But then it got there was DNA underneath fingernails. I mean, that's to me that you're just not going to get out of that. And then to say, oh, it was planted by the police, it could have been.
Oh, that
it could have been, but to me, I was like guilty. I don't even need to hear.
Yeah,
I don't need to hear anymore.
The passenger side visor was down
Yeah.
on the SUV, and then it had like a, what was it, like a colorization mark somewhere, like something. There was something on it.
Let's see.
I can't remember what it was.
Was it a
there
sticker,
was something?
Or was it discoloration? Yeah, maybe it was
there
just
was
some
something.
discoloration. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there might have been a sticker, but yeah, and he kept saying, "Oh, that's not his. That's not his.
Yeah,
that's somebody." The rims. No, they're the same rims.
So was it just the surveillance and then the pictures on his phone that got him? Was it the neighborhood cameras plus what was on his phone?
There was the images on his phone. There was let's see, there was no location data for his phone in August. Let's see, his phone didn't send self. So that's I'm not sure why. So there was no. Okay, so he didn't actually go to Gurman's house, but he was on Google Earth or Maps or whatever at his office, and then also on his cell phone. There was software on Tellus's phone displayed Gurman's address and vehicle information. That's right. He was using his county computer, and he was looking up Gurman's address.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
On his county computer.
On his county computer. Yeah. There were no outgoing texts or calls on Tellus's phone call between 8:48 a.m. so the morning and then 2:05 p.m. So his wife, I think, was trying to call him, and he didn't answer. He wasn't answering the phone. Yeah. And he went to work out at a gym like around noon, I think. So we think the murder happened, I guess around, I guess it was like 7:30 or 8. Jenny, do you remember?
Well, he left his house. He left his house at 9:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when they saw him kind of the car driving up and around, and
and then he went to a gym to work
out.
Went
to somewhere.
He got rid of some clothes.
I think so.
Take a shower. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they found the tennis shoes underneath his.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
They found his tennis shoes underneath his couch. He says, well, that was planted by the police.
Yeah. Everything was against it. It all started with those articles. So everything was pinned on him because of the articles. But he lost the re-election. And he was like, I had nothing to do with it. Nope, I wasn't upset about that. Okay.
Right. Sure. Right. One of the women out of those four, the old guard, he kept calling them the old guard. One of those women beat him in an election. So he was on his way out. And then he had his finger. Remember, his finger was all. He said he was chopping something, and his finger was all gnarly. So we think that was from him stabbing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, though, right? So this was a journalist who'd written negative articles about him. He didn't win his re-election, but how does offing the journalist fix that he didn't win the election?
It wouldn't. He was just. He was just
mad at him.
He was revenge. He was just
and he didn't want his wife to find out. He a lot of it was about his wife too, because
that's true.
Said that because his wife, he told his wife, he didn't do any of those things, and
right.
He didn't want to look bad to his kids and his wife, but he got life with possibility of parole in 28 years.
Yep.
Wow.
So, but
Pammy says because the journalist hurt his reputation. Okay. But that's a tort. You can have a tort claim for that. I can't remember if it's libel. It was on a bar exam question at one point. Anyway, you can sue in court if it ruins if somebody ruins your reputation.
Yeah.
I don't see how you get to murder from that. Tellus just blamed him and was mad. Okay.
Yeah. There was one more article that was scheduled to come out. So he was exposing this relationship with his coworker.
Yeah.
How he would yell and scream at these other four women. He was playing favoritism in the office. But there was another article that was about to come out, and and I think he just wanted he wanted revenge, for basically ruining his life, losing the election, et cetera, et cetera. So
he didn't want to be embarrassed anymore.
Yeah,
I guess people are delusional enough to think that by doing something even worse, that's going to not ruin their lives any further.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what goes through the minds of.
So it sounds like from what chat is saying, and what I've heard about this case is that he had a pretty big ego on him.
Oh, yes.
Huge ego. Oh, and I found some really good stuff about his dad. I think his dad was, they came from Texas, and I think his dad took a plea deal or something. He was accused of embezzlement or something, and his uncle was an ambassador under Kennedy.
Really?
Yeah. And the fact that he took the stand, and he just, he looked like a thumb.
That was like the weirdest. That was, I don't know. I've seen a lot of them take the stand. I had never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
That was
I
just
agree.
strange.
It was a good one. It was
strange.
And again, back to your point about how do I pick trials? You just never know. Like we're doing this rewatch of this OnlyFans stalker in the attic out in New Hampshire.
I finished watching today.
That's so creepy.
Yeah.
When I saw that about the attic, I was like, I'll come down to watch this one. Yeah.
And I wanted to do a break. I have like 2 or 3 more queued up. But I wanted a break from like death and murder. I wanted a break. So I said, oh, stalker in the attic. Nobody died. Cool. Let's do this one.
You never know what could have happened if they didn't get him.
But this one is more creepy. I think most of the chat are like, oh, and because this guy lifted up the bed covers and took pictures of her lady parts. It's like, dude, So I had no idea going into it. I had no idea that was going to happen. Then when it's coming out, we're like, so you just never know. You just never know.
You never know.
She admitted to leading him on, So, but he was. I think both of them. I hope they're getting therapy because they both needed
big time
something from each other. Like they both needed to be felt like they needed. They needed to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Spit it out.
They both wanted to be loved,
Yeah, they needed attention. They both craved it from another person.
Absolutely.
And they both were getting it from each other. But then when she decided she didn't want it anymore, he didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would block each other, block each. It was just.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I first start watching, I'm thinking to myself, well, I even said it in the chat, how do we know that this, like I said in the beginning, that she didn't, I'm not saying she wanted this, that's definitely not the right words, that she knew he was there and that when he came out, she didn't want her mother to know he was there. So she did all these other things, but then when it came out that he broke into her house and, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's different. But at first I thought, okay, what if she, it was like a thing that they were doing and she had him in the attic because she didn't want her mother knowing about him because she, had an alcohol problem. But then it came out how he broke in the window and got the keys and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah.
So would you say that in this past year, and this question is for both of you and even for chat, would you say that that you were surprised by what the tech could show, how much or the detail of it, the cell phone stuff, location, anything like that?
I think the last couple of years have really brought it on to where I had no idea they could get all that out of their phones. I had no idea. And then like in the Daybell case that really, and Murdo is the first one to me that really stuck out as, wow, they could get all that. And that now we're seeing like with the Snapchat, the timing on the Harrington. I had no idea they'd get all that out there. I mean, because I didn't pay as much attention to trials, like as much as I do now, obviously. But with the Murdaugh, like we'll talk about later, obviously, like we said, but that one I was like glued to that one. But
what about you, Chris? Were you
watching
shocked by anything that came out in one of the trials this year? Were you like, I didn't know they could do that?
No, because I've known, like Aaron and I will be sitting around a couple years, 3, 4, 5 years ago. No, maybe even longer, 6 years ago. And we're sitting around and we have our phones on and we're like talking about something. And then I go on Facebook and I see an ad for whatever it is we're talking about.
That's weird.
That's really
that happens all the time.
We've kind of been aware, and it's like nothing is ever deleted. There's always a cloud. There's always a footprint. There's always, because we're heavily into computers. That's all we do all day.
Oh, that's right. I forget you guys have kind of a tech background, and particularly Aaron does too. Yeah.
So that didn't surprise me, but what surprised me the most was the Cellbrite, how long. If you have your browser window open and then you don't close it, that to me was the most shocking thing. And I'll probably, until the day I die, I'm like, I always thought metadata is metadata,
right.
When you Google something, that's
I don't
that's
believe that.
written in stone. So that's
Yeah.
why, that was shocking to me that they actually went down that path, meaning the prosecution
Yeah. Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
that. But
There's a new
That's
prosecutor.
interesting.
There's a new prosecutor and a new
Brennan.
defense attorney, right?
Brennan, both. Yeah, Brennan's a new
Yeah.
prosecutor. He actually prosecuted Whitey Ford. I'm sorry, not Whitey Ford. Whitey Bulger, the mafia guy
Oh,
in
yeah?
Boston. That's his
I
claim
don't know
to
that
fame.
one.
Yeah,
That's
that's his.
old.
Oh no, I'm
Old,
sorry.
old.
He represented him. He represented him. The Brennan, the state prosecutor that is taking over for Lally, represented Whitey Bulger. So that's
That's
his
crazy.
claim to fame. I don't like him. I think he is just he is
The
so
lawyers on both sides are hard to like sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't like the last one. The last one couldn't present anything. He was just.
I thought Pryor, mob lawyer. I thought Pryor from Chad Daybell was condescending, but Brennan is just like when he was doing his cross of the expert, the dog bite expert. I forget her name right now. That doctor or whatever. I mean, he was just like, oh, I cannot stand his demeanor, his just condescension, and just I can't. I won't be able to deal with 35 days of his cross, But anyway,
Dr. Russell is her name.
Dr. Russell. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still working with that.
And it was, I went back, I think Karen Cole and I were talking about this when at one point during the first trial, she was on for 40 minutes and then they still aren't finished with her a full day of grilling her. They're still not done with her. So that just
trying to bring her back in again.
She has a lot to say and she was only allowed 40 minutes the first trial. So
yeah, they're trying to get her to not be able to testify again this time.
Or to the extent, at least, of what they want her to. Yeah.
Were you surprised, Chris, in starting your channel? And I know you were doing some double streams, so you weren't always paying as much attention as you are right now, since YouTube did the bad thing and demonetized you guys. But my question is, did anything that you did watch and pay attention to this year, what was the one thing that like will stick with you for a while?
It doesn't have to do with cell phones or anything. Well,
I just want to know what case.
Jorge,
I told
Sarah
you I
Boone.
wanted an interview, so I'm just going to sneak a couple questions in here and then we'll be done.
The whole Sarah Boone experience, going down there, being part of the media pool, setting up every day, talking with journalists, talking with techs, that was really cool. Seeing the back end of how streams happen.
Yeah, I had
really
no
cool.
idea till I watched you and you were plugging into the box and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that your background as a musician sort of helped you with understanding that, you have to plug something in here to make something come out here?
100%. Yeah, I went to school I wanted to be a camera operator, television. I wanted to get into.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I originally went to. I'm not going to tell you what I originally went into, but I ultimately ended up in a tech school doing radio and television because ultimately I wanted to be a cameraman. That's what I wanted to do. So yes, that helped. Also getting the crap at Benefield sentencing. Yes. So yes, that helped, being able to, because every day, every moment, there was some kind of tech issue going on, and Aaron and Scott and I were just constantly talking to each other. So being able to pivot immediately on a dime when something is going wrong, that I think helped as well. Being a musician, chord doesn't work, you gotta like immediately figure out, well, if my chord doesn't work, I'm not gonna be able to play. If this chord, if I can't find AC, this feed's gonna go down, and then we're gonna have a couple hundred people really mad at us. So yeah, I would say that helped. Again, I think Sarah to me was the biggest moment for that reason, but then also in the trial, I was so upset at Mr. J in his case in chief, and then when his rebuttal came on and he showed that video of Jorge and Sarah videotaping him and just berating him like he's just like this puppy dog, and he's like in the corner,
5 years old,
and she's like Sarah, and she's like, that's my name, don't wear it out. I thought it was bad enough seeing him in the suitcase dying, but then when I saw that, I was just like, that's gonna just haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, me too.
I
that was
think that a
just,
lot of people feel
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
And so when I was on Sarah's case, I came on when Billy came on because I
Mhm.
worked for Billy at that time, and I didn't see all of her discovery.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know that I had seen any of the videos. I remember having police report, and actually I came across my file from her on the computer when I was looking for something else that I didn't find. Shocking.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't know the extent of that, right? Because
Mhm.
when you haven't seen all the discovery yet and you're sitting in the room with them, all you have, if you don't have even an information, all you have is what they're telling you,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And then I had the original police report, which was not very long because I got through it really fast and I wrote up a bunch of deposition questions. And then, I was like, you really don't need me on this, and I don't really need to be here any longer. So, um, I, yeah, those videos will go down. I'll never get that out of my head.
Yeah,
The
won't
same
either.
way Jessica Chambers' case haunts me, that
Mhm.
will haunt me for George Torres. Barry Adams, you have been cracking me up. First of all, I think you're telling your life
Does.
story in the chat. So if you need an interview time, come on, we'll do that. And then if
That'd be cool.
Billy needs a QuickBooks guru, I do it for him for free. I can do a balance sheet by class in Desktop Pro. I'll let him know. Um,
Yeah.
Barry says, "Oh, that's very nice. I think this is towards me. Him and you both seem on a mission to do the best for your clients, and that's why I have hats off to you and to him." Yeah, I would. I do try
You
to do the
do.
best I can. It's not always easy. It's not always successful. Sometimes it's just like you're helping to broker a resolution. And is there ever a good outcome when somebody has been injured or is dead? No,
Right.
there isn't. But this is the process, and this is the system we have, and somebody has to be on the defense side, you know? And
Yeah.
Right.
somehow that's where I ended up. But thank you. I appreciate that very much. Um, Tanika says those rebuttal videos were brutal. She hadn't gone with BSS, none of that would have come out. Exactly. You're exactly right. You're
Mhm.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
And I
Yep.
remember I was upset at Jay, and I'd say 95% of our chat was upset at Jay because Mr. Jay, because in his case in chief, like we wanted so much more, like a hammer over Sarah's head, like prove it, like really show it, and he saved that, I think, for rebuttal, like,
I
That
think
was
so.
just
Yeah.
brilliant.
it really was,
Yeah.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
was,
It was
yeah.
brilliant. What kills me, no pun intended, about lawyers on either side is when they are berating the witness, trying to, I know, I hear you, I'm almost done. They are berating whoever the witness is, and they keep rephrasing their question just a tiny bit because they're trying
Hmm.
to get this one particular answer out. And it's
Mhm.
like you're better off cutting your losses and walking away, because when the jury doesn't like you for
Mhm.
bullying,
Right.
a witness trying to get to an answer you want, that's not scoring a point to
Yeah.
me.
Right.
And so he didn't have to do that.
Mhm.
He had, she gave it to him on a freaking silver platter,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
One thing I don't hear a lot anymore. I used to hear a lot of objections of badgering a witness. I don't hear that as much anymore.
Mhm.
It happens all the time, but
Yeah.
I just don't hear it the way that I did, 5 years ago.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
just odd
That's
the way
true.
that things they're getting away with. They'll say to rephrase the question, like if they
Mhm.
don't agree with the
Right.
question, but they
Yeah.
still, like the case you're showing right now, they were, I mean, yeah, I think the prosecution is doing a heck of a job with the
Mhm.
OnlyFans stalker guy, but
Mhm.
she was like really on to him a lot when you showed it yesterday. Yeah, because I had to watch it, at the
I
at the
know.
end because I left an hour before you finished. But I
Mhm.
was like, some of that time she just really wouldn't leave it alone. And
Yeah.
then finally they said, you've already asked and answered. But she was good. Like
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Guys, this
Agreed.
has been a long stream for me and this channel, and the last one of 2024.
Whoop,
And I
whoop.
want to say thank
Yeah.
you so much again to Chris and to Aaron from Trial TV Live. You guys are
Yes.
amazing. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Make sure that you guys are going there for your trial coverage. Chris is doing great
Indeed.
recaps. Oh my God, you recapped
Yeah.
an argument the other day that I couldn't follow. Like I was listening to it, but you know, I've been in this weird headache, whatever, forever. And I was like, I don't know. And I just sat here and listened to you break it down, and it was very impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He takes really good notes while he's watching.
And
It
you
lets us
being
know.
on camera all day long is, you know, that's commitment for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, thank you so much for that. And
Yes.
your
thank you.
show, which is Shooting the Shit with Squeegee, is on, I think, Wednesday nights at 8:30. Is that right?
8 o'clock. Yep.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8,
Okay.
yep.
I got close.
You
So,
were. Yes.
I really appreciate you and Aaron both so very much, and thank you for doing this and stepping in, helping me out. I'm really grateful, and I look forward to being with you guys on New Year's Eve. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you
I hope I
for
get to watch
having.
some of it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure yet of the dynamics here, if I'll get to, but hopefully.
Oh, okay. What are you
And
planning?
to Jenny,
Oh.
thank you so much. You've been doing so much support work in the
Oh, you're
background,
welcome.
and I very much appreciate that. It's hard for me to balance all of what's going on in my professional life and also everything that's going on with these cases. And chat, thank you. Let's
Yes.
see. Barry Adams said, I had so much fun with that Florida PICM and Gini Risinger and the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you for being on tonight. It's our absolute pleasure. I am
Thank you, Barry, for being here.
I'm so happy that after 5 years of wanting to do this, I finally did it. And I'm glad you're here with me, and I appreciate you so much. Please leave a like, subscribe, go see my friends. Jenny's stuff will be in the description or in a post. And everybody have a very happy and safe new year. And I will
Yes.
see you in 2025. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.